Hello and welcome to this informative session dedicated to the Internet Activation System in the Structural Engineering Library. What we're going to talk about in this session is four major topics. First, we'll see how to Internet activate your Structural Engineering Library installation initially. Then we'll move into how to configure your activation type in the Structural Engineering Library. The third topic will be how to activate and deactivate the Structural Engineering Library on demand, in other words, sometime after your initial activation. And then the last thing that we'll wrap up with is how you can deactivate another user who is currently using one of the seats associated with your license. Now my screen is showing my desktop background right now because what I've mocked up is the situation that you'll see when you first launch Structural Engineering Library after installation. So I'm just going to reach down and do that. And we can see that it's searching right now for the Network License Manager, which is normal protocol for the Structural Engineering Library when it senses that it does not currently have product control code entered in it. Failing finding a Network License Manager, it shows us the screen that we see here, which gives us a couple different options. The ones that we're going to focus on are the ones that are associated with the Internet Activation method, namely the button that says Enter a Product Control Code. So I'm going to click that button, and that modifies the user info and licensing information dialog to the form that we see here, where it provides an input field for us to enter the product control code, which was emailed to us in one of the delivery emails when we purchased the Structural Engineering Library. Now I've previously gone into my delivery email and I've copied that long, seemingly random text string, and now what I'm going to do is either right click and choose paste, or I can just simply click in that input field and then use the Paste PCC from Clipboard button. And there is the product control code that I intend to use today. The next step is for me to click the button that says Check and Save the Product Control Code. This performs a check on that long text string, make sure that it's a valid product control code, and assuming that it is valid and that we've gotten everything from the very beginning to the very end of the code, it will save the PCC, and then it switches to this dialog that tells us that the program is ready for activation, and it provides us with an option to Internet Activate. I'll also point out that there's a manual activation button over here, and I just want to let you know that this is sort of a fail-safe method. It is the most basic method of activating the program, but there are some disadvantages to doing that, and namely it circumvents all the benefits of the Internet Activation method, which allows you to share your number of activations among an unlimited number of computers that are in your organization. So we won't focus on the manual activation method in this session, but instead we'll concentrate on Internet activation. The other thing that I'll point out is that there is an option to specify proxy server settings here. If I click this Specify Proxy Server button, that opens up a dialog that's dedicated to the settings that are associated with a proxy server if one happens to exist on your system. By default, the program uses the settings that it retrieves from your web browser. So if you don't have a proxy server on your system, then there's no need to even come in to that particular dialog. But I just want to point that out because an increasing number of folks are finding that they do need to make use of those settings, and once they do, activation is a breeze. The next thing that I'll point out before we actually move into the activation process itself is that that product control code that I pasted in contains encrypted data, and one of the things that it contains is my user registration number. So in this case it's displayed here, and then it also includes the license holder name, and the product control code that I'm using right now is an internal code that we use for those of us in-house, and so it comes back with the name of licensed Enercalc user, but in your case, when you paste in the correct product control code, it will come up with whatever name you used when you purchased your license. So at this point, what I'm going to do is come back up to the Internet Activate button, and just give that a click. There was a quick flash of text here that indicates that it's attempting an activation, and a good sign is the fact that it comes up with the Select Activation Type dialog. So at this point, I'm going to move on into our item number 2, which is what we call configuring our activation, and that is embodied in these 4 different options that we have here in the Select Activation Type. So let's just step through these so that you have an understanding of what they each do and when you might use them. Starting with the topmost one, which is referred to as indefinite. This is one that, as the note indicates, it's probably convenient for single seat owners, especially those who use just one computer in their business. And the reason for that is because when we use the indefinite option, what it does is it communicates over the internet briefly with our Internet Activation Server, gets permission to activate this particular machine, and then writes some specific information that it receives from the Internet Activation Server into the registry of this computer that we're currently trying to activate. And then beyond that point, that particular computer retains that activation even when the program is closed and the computer is unplugged from the Ethernet cable, completely disconnected from the internet, completely powered off. That information is stored in the computer indefinitely, hence the name. And so this may be convenient for folks who have just one computer and don't need to shuttle their activation back and forth among multiple computers or share it among multiple users within their organization. It also can be a handy way to activate your machine if you like the flexibility of the Internet Activation System, but if you happen to have spotty internet access or an unreliable internet service provider, because this method only requires that momentary chatter across the internet at the moment that I click the activate button just once, and then from then on, no matter how many times I launch the program, under normal circumstances, there's no need for the program to reach out across the internet and communicate with our Internet Activation Server. So again, this has its benefits and is useful for certain subsets of our user base, and this is the indefinite option. Moving down, the next option is called automatic activation and deactivation. And this one basically does what it says. Whenever anyone who is referring to this particular KW number launches the structural engineering library, their machine will automatically try to communicate with our Internet Activation Server over the internet. It will inquire as to whether there is an activation available for this particular license. If so, it will take that activation down to the local computer. It'll activate that machine and allow them to use the software in licensed and activated mode until they exit the program, at which time the computer will once again chatter with our Internet Activation Server and return that activation to the pool of activations that is associated with that license, and make that activation available for your colleague or for some other user to then subsequently grab. So that's the automatic activation and deactivation option. And that can be a convenient one for situations that involve multiple computers, particularly situations where there are more users than there are seats. It becomes a very efficient and effective way of sharing a limited number of activations among a large number of users / computers. The next option down is called deactivate on exit. And what this does is it simply ensures that the activation that is being acquired currently will automatically be returned to the user's pool when the software is closed, when an exit is performed. So it's basically like the second half of the process associated with automatic activation and deactivation. It's basically just an automatic deactivation when this particular instance of the software is closed. And then the final option is to deactivate at a specified date and time, which pretty much does what it says. It will return the activation that we're currently requesting on the specified date at the specified time. And it can be useful if you need to activate a computer and then, say, head out to a job site where activation may be spotty because of internet access uncertainty. So you could potentially activate a laptop and tell it that you want it to remain activated until this specified date and time, at which point the Internet Activation Server would automatically effectively deactivate that activation, and that would have the effect of increasing the number of activations for those who remain back in the office by one, making that seat available for others to use. So for my purposes, what I'm going to do is choose the indefinite option at this point, and then I'm going to click the Activate button. And now we get a quick pop-up dialog that says that my software is successfully activated. So I'll click OK. I can also see that now the status here in my user info and licensing information dialog changes to licensed and activated software. And I can see that some of the other unnecessary buttons drop away, and the button that once was the Internet Activate button has now become the Internet Deactivate button. In other words, this is just a toggle that cycles through activate, deactivate. So at this point, what I can do is move down to the lower right-hand corner and choose the option to continue to program. And let's just coordinate that dialog here with the shared region. And now I have a licensed and activated installation of the structural engineering library that I could work with, create a new project file, opening an existing project file, and so on. Now, the third thing that we said that we would discuss is how we can activate and deactivate on demand. So what I'm going to do at this point is come up to the license item in the menu bar and then choose software activation, the first item in the list, and just show you that that brings us right back to that same user info and licensing information dialog. And then for those who prefer the icon method, that would be this keychain icon on the toolbar, and that opens the same dialog. So at this point, if we wanted to, we could Internet Deactivate, and that tells us now that our software is deactivated and is ready to be reactivated. And likewise, at this point, if I wanted to, I could click the Internet Activate button and make this program active once again. Now, I'm going to pause for just a moment, and I'm going to prepare the screen for the final demonstration, which is going to be to show you how you can deactivate another user. So I will be back in just a moment. Okay, we're back now, and in order to fully understand what we're about to see, I need to explain two quick changes that I've made behind the scenes. The first is that I have changed the product control code that's in this installation from one that was a general use product control code for within Enercalc to the product control code that is specifically associated with my particular license of the structural engineering library. And then the other change that's been made that you can't see on the screen is that on my other computer, sitting also here on my desk right beside me, I have fired up Enercalc and I have activated it so that I have my single seat Flex license currently running on the computer next to me, not the computer that we're currently recording. So theoretically now I have used my one and only seat on the other computer. Now what I'd like to show you is what happens when I try to activate the computer that we're currently recording. So I'm going to click the Internet Activate button. You saw that it is attempting to activate. It comes up with the option for me to tell it what type of activation I would like, but this is obviously not yet proof that I'm going to be able to activate this particular installation, because I'll just leave it set to indefinite and click activate to show you what happens. It's currently contacting the activation server to see if the seat is available and to build a list to tell me who is currently on this particular license. Then it comes back with this dialog that tells me that it's sorry, but it can't activate the software as requested because I've reached a limit. And then it tells me that I can take a look down through this list of others who are currently activated against this particular license, and I can actually select one and choose to deactivate them. So what I see is that I have my wife's computer name. I'm currently logged into it, and it tells me exactly when the activation was initiated or when that computer was activated. Now the benefit here is that this could represent your situation where you've left your computer activated at work and you've rushed home, and your intent is to try to get a little bit more work done at home. You have everything set up so that you have your product control code at home. You launch, and then you see your name here, and it's your office computer that's still activated. Well, not to worry, because what we've done is we've made it so that we can select from any number of people that are in this list. If you happen to have more than one seat, there could even be more than one person currently using that license. In this case, I'm already selected. I'm just going to say deactivate selected. This tells me that the person at the other end, the person on this computer, is about to be deactivated, and that they will be notified the next time they try to start. So it's not going to kick them right off. They're not going to lose any work. There's no risk associated with this. However, even if that other computer is set up to be indefinitely activated, the next time they start, they're going to get a little message that says you're not currently activated, so you're going to have to pick a selection or select an activation method at this point in time. So I'm going to say yes, I wish to continue, and almost as quickly as I can see the pop-ups go, it deactivated the other one and then comes back and tells me that this one is now currently activated. I can click OK, and then I can click Continue to Program, and I am in an activated state and can work on a project file here. So I hope that that's helpful. The things that you need to remember are that the Internet Activation system is there for your flexibility, and that you can control, number one, when you're activated and when you're deactivated by either using the keychain icon or license software activation to bring you to the user info and licensing information dialog. Remember that the Internet Deactivate button and the Internet Activate button act as toggles. And remember that the Select Activation Type dialog gives you some options to specify exactly how each and every one of the machines in your organization is configured to activate when the activation command is actually initiated. Thanks very much for watching. I hope this is helpful, and if it conjures up any questions or thoughts or concerns or suggestions, please don't ever hesitate to get in touch with us. Drop us a line at support@enercalc.com, and we'll be glad to give some thought to those suggestions or respond to your questions. Take care and have a great day.